Okie dokie, friends. In the video I posted a little earlier today, and I'll link that one in the description. I talked about the statement that came out from Justice Roberts. This leak today, or last night rather, was authentic. It was the real deal. And he's launching an investigation because he's pretty pissed off about it, it would seem, and rightfully so. I dug into some statements from some people. The rhetoric is high. In this video, I want to dig in a little bit more to why I think this leak happened, what people are saying, where I think this is going, what I think it means for the Supreme Court, what I think it means for the country, and kind of the dangerous path that I think we're on. So we're going to dig into that. My name is Dan. This is the Soule of Wisdom. If you haven't already done so with this channel, please do subscribe and please hit the notification bell. I'm going to have one more video on this matter today where I'm going to dig into my thoughts on abortion as a whole. Full disclosure, I am unapologetically pro-life, and that is a hill worth dying on, in my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments. It wouldn't be the first time somebody's disagreed with me. So we're going to start out here with the statement from the president this morning. So let's listen to what Mr. Biden had to say, shall we? Here we go.
Idea that it concerns me a great deal that we're going to, after 50 years, decide a woman does not have a right to choose within the limits of the Supreme Court decision in Casey. You know, if this decision holds, it's really quite a radical decision. And again, the underlying premise, and again, I've not had a chance to thoroughly go into the report, the decision. But it basically says all the decisions relating to your private life, who you marry, whether or not you decide to conceive a child or not, whether or not you can have an abortion, a range of other decisions, whether or not how you raise your child. What does this do? And does this mean that in Florida they can decide they're going to pass a law saying that same-sex marriage is not permissible? It's against the law in Florida. So there's a whole, it's a fundamental shift in American jurisprudence.
On the filibuster, President, do away with the filibuster to codify Roe?
I'm not prepared to make those judgments now about, but you know, I think the codification of Roe makes a lot of sense.
Okie dokie. So he rambled like he normally does and kind of got off track and whatnot. But at one point, it was real clear what he was trying to imply there is that just because the court seems set to do away with Roe v. Wade and send that matter back to the states, that this suddenly means that a whole range of rights and everything else is suddenly going to fall by the wayside. And of course, this is nothing but a scare tactic. This is one matter that the court is now finding, and I believe rightfully so, that needs to be a state's issue. Even Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that the Roe decision was sloppy, that it wasn't good jurisprudence. That's what she said. And she was about as left as you can get. And she saw the flaws in this. And this court sees the flaws in it, and they're going to send it back to the states. But immediately from the president, if anybody should be coming out right now and saying this leak was wrong, it should not have happened, it should be this guy. He should lead. Instead, he's stoking the fires. That is frightening. You know, there's enough to question the president about with his mental capabilities and everything else. For him to then go down this route makes me question him even further, and that's a very, very bad thing. Let's listen to what some other people have to say, though, shall we? This from Nancy and Chuck. If the report is accurate, the Supreme Court is poised to inflict the greatest restriction of rights in the last 50 years, not just on women, but on all Americans. Well, of course, there's that matter of, can we define a woman? Because Ketanji Brown Jackson couldn't. She's going to be on the court soon. She doesn't know what a woman is. So all these statements immediately come into question, don't they? But anyways, the Republican-appointed justices' reported votes to overturn Roe v. Wade would go down as an abomination, one of the worst and most damaging decisions in modern history. Several of these justices, who are in no way accountable to the American people, have lied to the U.S. Senate, ripped up the Constitution, and defiled both President and the Supreme Court's reputation, all at the expense of tens of millions of women who could soon be stripped of their bodily autonomy and the constitutional rights they've relied on for over half a century. Oh, come on. At some point, and I'll probably get into this more in the next video, where I talk about my views on abortion as a whole, but at some point, somebody's going to have to give me a solid, valid argument on how body autonomy for women seems to only start when they decide that they want to have an abortion. Did they not have autonomy over their bodies when they engaged in the acts? Did they not have body autonomy when they decided to use contraception or not? Which, by the way, is as good as it's ever been. It's like 99.9% effective, most of these methods. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. And I don't want to hear the argument about the 1% of cases where it involves rape or incest or danger health-wise to the mother. Okay? We can have those discussions separately. We can't make policy based on the very small number of exceptions. Okay? You deal with them as exceptions. And conceivably, laws can be created and have been created on other things to handle exceptions. But we don't make rules, or at least we shouldn't be, that govern everything over an exception or two. So I don't want to hear that argument. Women do have autonomy over their body. Ask any dude who's dating who wants to play around and the woman says no. I mean, or vice versa. The woman wants to play around and the man says no. We have autonomy. We have the ability to make choices. Make your choices and then live with it. If you've made your choice, you have to understand the possible outcomes. Live with those outcomes. The guy will. If the woman decides to have that baby, that guy will live with it. He'll live with it financially for 20 years. It's just the way that it is. Anyways, let's see what else is going on. Rachel Maddow. She said, if the ultimate ruling from the court is going to look anything like this, and we're going into a midterm season where Republicans are poised to take the House and the Senate, then President Biden is still President Biden. Not sure what that means. And presumably he would veto such a measure. But if in the event that we had a Republican president in 2024, that's where we'd be. We'd be at, South American-style nationwide abortion ban in America. I mean, it's like a 4-number Sudoku. It's not a hard puzzle, right? This is, in terms of people figuring out what are at stake at their votes in November, in terms of midterms, putting whichever party in control of either House of Congress will, among other things, determine whether we're about to become a country that bans abortion nationwide. Okay, so there's one of the main reasons why I think this thing got leaked, okay? This is done to stoke the fires. This has been done to try to, first off, bully the Supreme Court into changing their minds. But further, if they can't do that, the idea is to somehow rally the vote against Republicans, because as it stands right now, the Democrats know they're going to lose. And they are. If you look at any of the polling, they're definitely going to lose the House. They're probably going to lose the Senate. So this is a rallying point to try to get people to switch to their side, or at least be more supportive of their side. Never mind the fact that the country is collapsing around us economically and socially and job-wise and everything else. That doesn't seem to matter, does it? Let's use this hot-button issue to get out there and rally people against the Republicans to try to save our own asses. That's what's coming out of the left right now. They will burn this place down to get what they want. And Rachel Maddow is she's quite honestly and accurately calling balls and strikes here. That's what's going to happen. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to rally the folks. Bernie Sanders was kind enough to tweet out, Congress must pass legislation that codifies Roe v. Wade as the law of the land in this country now. And if there aren't 60 votes in the Senate to do it, and there are not, we must end the filibuster to pass it with 50 votes. They've wanted to do this for a long time, too. Here's a reason for them to give it a try. Well, I can't get what I want, so I'm going to change the rules. Bernie is how old? 157, and he's acting like a petulant 5-year-old? It's crazy. They're all crazy. I mean, the left most certainly, but don't worry, there's crazy on the right too, just for different reasons. But regardless of that, we're going to go in and we're going to suggest anyways that we change the rules of how things are done because we can't get what we want. It's unbelievable, but it's not unbelievable because this is how things work. Government wasn't designed to work easy, my friends. It was designed to work hard, to work slow. The reason being to make sure that decisions are made are more measured, that they are thought out, that we don't have knee-jerk reactions, that we don't have mob rule. So I'm sorry, but blowing up the way things work just because you can't get what you want is not the answer. And, the Senate started playing these games a while back with the judicial nominations. Harry Reid did it first, and then Mitch McConnell did it back. And, it just started this landslide of BS coming out of the Senate. I have no doubt that they'll try to make a push to do away with the filibuster. But it's such short-sightedness, because if they do that, and then the Republicans get in power in November, they're going to use that to their advantage to get things through. And, where does it stop? It just destroys the Senate. It destroys the effectiveness of that body to do this. Now, people will argue, well, no, it makes it more effective because now they can pass things easily. Yeah, but it's just going to be a game of ping pong at that point. Again, government was designed not to work in knee-jerk ways. Just saying. Okay, Andrea Ocasio-Cortez. As we've warned, SCOTUS isn't just coming for abortion, they're coming for the right to privacy Roe rests on, including gay marriage and civil rights. Really? There's nothing, again, this is the same thing that Prez was trying to get across in his befuddled ramblings, where he was trying to indicate that this is going to take other rights. No, it's not, AOC. They're not even the same thing. I mentioned in the previous video, if I was in a marriage with another man, if I was in a gay marriage, and suddenly my marriage and that institution and my love for that other man was being put on the same level with a medical procedure that's designed to end the life of a fetus, I'd find that insulting as hell. They're not the same thing. They're not even close. One involves destruction. The other involves love. Whether or not you agree with the institution of gay marriage, I don't think anybody would argue that the idea is founded upon the love between two people. There's nothing that has love in it when it comes to abortion. It's not love-based. She's out of her mind. But, let's go to the original out of her mind, Hillary. This decision is a direct assault on dignity, rights, and the lives of women, not to mention decades of settled law. That's a reach to me to call settled law. And I know that people have said that Brett Kavanaugh, also called it, quote-unquote, settled law. But is law ever really settled? It's kind of like saying settled science. Okay, well, we've learned through COVID that there's no such thing as settled science. It's always evolving, okay? Laws also evolve. They change with the times. They change with the desires of the people, which, quite frankly, is why things that were not designated to the federal government are reserved for the states, because localities have different ideas of how things should be. I live in Arizona right now. I spent the majority of my life in the Midwest and a couple of states up there, and I will tell you the cultures aren't the same. The cultures weren't the same between those two states that I lived in. They're certainly different than what we have here in Arizona. So there has to be some ability for things to evolve and change within the local dynamics. So the idea of subtle law gets me. But she says it will kill and subjugate women. Really? Again, if we're talking about the whole, well, the life of the mother thing, rape, incest, and the life of the mother combined count for like 1% of abortions. So if we're talking about life of the mother, that's less than 1%. So this is very much a statistical anomaly. So for her to say that it's going to kill women, give me a break. That is not a solid argument. If you could say that, well, you know, we're going to lose 1 million women in this country this year if they don't have access to abortion because they'll lose their life. Okay, well, tell me how and why. But that's not what she's saying. There's no statistics here. There's no basis for this statement. Just it's going to kill people. Yeah, it's going to kill people if we have abortions. It's going to kill the fetus. We'll get into that more in the next video. And subjugate women. Really? In this day and age, honestly, truly, women are not subjugated. If anybody's subjugated, quite frankly, it's men. We're forced to shut up, bow down, be quiet. Don't be real men. Don't say things. Don't do things. Go along, agree, shut up. Okay? Women are far from subjugated. Women have more rights, more freedoms, more everything that they've ever enjoyed, ever. They are most certainly on equal footing. And yes, we can make improvements here or there. I get it. But give me a break. All right? You can't honestly argue that if you're a woman in the United States, you don't have it wonderfully compared to the rest of the world, especially. I'm just saying. But then she goes on and she calls it an utter disgrace. Okay. So there's a lot of stoking the fires right now, especially from the left. And again, I pointed this out in the last video. None of them have come out to say, excuse me, none of them have come out to say that this leak was wrong. It is. It's a violation of trust, but nobody will say that it's wrong. Instead, we're just going to pile on. And here's why I see this. First off, I think the left is upset that it looks like Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. So this leak, first and foremost, is no doubt designed to bully the Supreme Court. They are going to attempt to get one or two of these judges to flip on their decision so that this thing stands. And if they do that, that sets a dangerous precedent and honestly takes the effectiveness of the court away. This is a very isolated institution with lifetime appointments for a reason. It's to isolate them from the political winds. It's to keep them out of the swinging back and forth that can happen and instead allow them to focus on the law and the Constitution and what fits and what doesn't fit. And they've decided that Roe was bad judgment that doesn't fit. At least that's what it appears that they're deciding. If this bullying happens, and if it does somehow cause the court to flip on this, regardless of how you feel about Roe versus Wade, I think that the biggest thing that it does is it destroys the institution. The Supreme Court's done at that point. It doesn't matter anymore because you've learned that you can make enough noise to make them irrelevant. That's a problem. The other thing I see happening here, no doubt, was that this was done with the expressed purpose of trying to change what is inevitably a freight train moving towards November of a Republican sweep. They're trying to rally enough hatred, enough rhetoric, enough rioting, God forbid, enough everything to stoke the flames against the Republicans to somehow change things around so they're not out of power. Because they've blown it the last year and a half. Look in your wallet. Tell me you're any better. You're not. And that falls squarely on the Democrats because they've been running the show. You can try to blame Trump or try to blame whoever, but the Republicans have had all the control, and tell me you're better off a year and a half into their reign. than you were before. You're not. That's the bottom line. So they have to deal with that. The scary thing is that the abortion issue especially is such a dividing line because, you know, they talk about on the left and through these statements, they've made the discussions, the points about how the right is radical. The Republicans have radicalized. They've never been so radical on this. The Republicans have been willing to compromise on this matter reluctantly, but they have been since all of this came out. You know, it used to be the whole safe, legal, and rare argument. Most Republicans begrudgingly could get on board with that idea. Well, now what's happening is that the left has moved so far to the left. You know, you have these people coming out and making statements like, shout your abortion. And some of the very left-leaning states trying to allow abortion right up until the point of birth. All of these things that have pulled the left for the left, and I think quite honestly, the right has gotten to the point of, well, why are we trying to compromise? Why were we begrudgingly going, okay, we can live with safe, legal, and rare, when the left is like, no, we want this all the time. You've had people come out and say that they wish they had abortions. What the hell? That's how radical that the left has gotten. But they're trying to frame it that the right is radical. No, quite honestly, the right has just gotten to the point where they're like, why? Why would we try to agree anymore? When we had this begrudging but peace over the matter, where we'll try to go along with it as long as we, you know, try to make sure it doesn't happen. And now the left is like, no, it's got to happen all the time. That dividing line, unfortunately, I think could be the catalyst to some very serious civil unrest, if not quite frankly all-out civil war. Heaven forbid. But this is one of those breaking points where things could get very weird very fast. At the very least, I see this continuing to accelerate the great sort, where you have the right running to right-leaning states and the left running to left-leaning states, and we divide. You could make an argument that that's not a horrible thing, quite honestly, if we follow the 10th Amendment, where what's not left to the federal government is reserved for the states. So California, New York, and Illinois, and excuse me, and whoever can do what they want to do, and Texas and Arizona and, you know, the Dakotas and Montana and whatever, they can do what in Florida, they can do what they want to do. And we get along that way, and we provide for the common defense. That would work. Unfortunately, that would be logical, and I don't see where we're going to be logical here. I see a lot of unrest coming from this, you know, because everybody's lost their minds and nobody wants to see clearly here. Nobody wants to be reasonable. We just want to stoke the rhetoric, and it's going to lead us to a dangerous place. I'd be curious to know your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments. Does this concern you and bother you as much as it concerns me? I don't think this goes to a good place, especially when our leaders aren't even acknowledging that at the very least the idea that something be leaked from the Supreme Court is a great violation of trust. We can't even do that. Instead, we just, again, stoke the rhetoric. So let me know what you think in the comments. Please do subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell if you've not already done so. I will be doing one more video on this matter today. You'll get alerted to it if you subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there for now. I am Dan. This is the Soul of Wisdom. Until the next time I see you, thank you for watching.